And that's when we realized, that we need to reduce the amount that reaches there in the first place. So then we started taking sessions on sustainable living in general, across communities and across people. And as we started taking on how you can compost your kitchen waste, how you can use sustainable menstruation options to completely eliminate your sanitary waste, how you can do BYOC, BYOB, and introduce more and more reusables in your life so that the disposables are reduced and the trash is reduced. We realized that there was at least at that time in 2015 when we started, the number of service providers, the number of vendors in this space was very less, and that's when me and my partner Malini Parmar decided to start Stone Soup. So it's just an attempt to make sustainable living an easy thing to do, easy choice. Everyone is busy with their lives, everyone has children, jobs, and so many things to worry about. And now COVID, right? And so many things to worry about, that sustainability kind of goes into the back burner. Somehow it's agar time mila to I will do kind of thing. So we want it to be an easy choice, that it won't take time, that it won't be that, it'll be a sustainable, as in it'll continue to impact you as well as the environment around you without you having to go out of your way to, do something. So that is the whole purpose in, starting Stone Soup, to reduce waste footprint and yet make it easy for people to adopt. It is not the few eco warriors that we're targeting. We want general people who want to do what we find is majority of people want to do the right thing as long as it's convenient. They will not go out of their way to do something. So this is an attempt to do that. So one of the things we feel really passionately for is the sustainable menstruation options. And thanks to Deepa of Saskane, that we've been conducting these sessions in Saskanes every year, and she's one Cupwort, and that's the thing that Cupwort is a term we use for everybody who's moved to using menstrual cups. So once you move, you've got to tell 15 others. It's not something that you can just that I am sustainable and it's good enough. It's something that you have to tell more and more people, and that is the aim at sessions like this. It's something that we know of something so great. How can we not tell others? That's the whole purpose of this session today. So thank you for inviting us, Ameya, and it's a great pleasure to address to all you beautiful ladies today. Wish you a belated happy Women's Day. And this year, the theme for International Women's Day, as defined by United Nations, is choose to challenge. And something that I'm going to ask all of you to do. Choose to challenge the fact that behavioral change is not possible. Choose to challenge that you can use the menstrual cup. Okay. So yeah, next slide, please. So just a basic introduction to the female reproductive organ. This is our uterus, and as you can see, the top arrow is basically the vaginal, the cervical lining, which keeps getting shed, and the bottom arrow, the blue arrow down, that's the cervix. That's where the blood comes from, and below that you can see a cylinder kind of a thing. That's the vaginal canal, and yeah, next please. So yeah, this is basically the lining on the uterus is what is it keeps building up, keeps readying the uterus for pregnancy, and when there is no pregnancy, it sheds away all the lining. So that's how we get our periods. And though it looks like a lot of blood, when we look on our sanitary pad, most women that we ask, they say that I'm a heavy bleeder, because on the pad it just fills up, right? I mean, it's like blotting paper. It looks like a lot of blood, but believe me, when you actually collect it, it's very little. It's not that much as we would like to think. So it's just 50 to 80 ml is what each woman bleeds in her entire cycle through the 3, 4 to 5 days that you bleed. It's just 50 to 80 ml. It's not much. It's like a peg, as what Meenakshi Bharat would like to say. Yeah, next please. Yeah, the next slide. So the most popular period care option known to us today, just keep doing next until the slide has been populated. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. So the most popular period care option known today is, of course, the disposable sanitary pad. There are a lot of ads made on it, and a lot of people are encouraging, the government is encouraging women who are using cloth also to move to disposable pads. And world over, this is a touted option, so to say. Next, please. The pads themselves have evolved over the last 40, 50 years. Earlier they used to be, sorry, the previous one. Yeah, thank you. So the order here is a little mixed up, but the first one, the first column that you see is how the pad started off. It was just cotton wrapped in a gauze. And sometimes post-delivery, something like this is given for postpartum bleeding as well. So it was a very simple thing. It's just, like basically assume that you're wounded and you use this cotton and thing to just collect or to dab the blood, right, for on the wound. This is just similar to that. It was not even leak proof earlier. And later, of course, leak proof layer was added, and the rightmost, the fourth image you see is what it was called as a beltless napkins. There was no need for tying it from top and front. There was a neat sticker behind, an adhesive which would stick to the panty. And then came the extra large, the different shapes of the pads, the wings. Wings were like, I have used napkins without wings before, and when wings came, I was like, oh my God, this is so amazing. The sides of the panties don't get stained anymore. And of course, through after that, it's the evolution has been so rapid. There are leak lock systems. There is dry weave cover, and the latest, which is the second image, is ultra thin. I have a napkin with me here. If you can see the video, you can see this napkin is so thin. It's almost like a tissue paper, and yet it can absorb as much as any of those thick pads or even more. So how was this, what really happened here was not that, there's more science and technology. Yes, definitely, there was a lot of research and things that happened. But basically, the ground reality of what really happened through these is more and more chemicals being added, and the cotton was replaced with plastic in more than one places. So how can cotton be so thin, right? So this pad hardly has any cotton in it. It's mostly made of polyacrylic gels. So these gels are nothing but really tiny beads which expand only if they absorb. So even after 4-5 hours of period blood, the used pad is also not very thick. Right? It's relatively thin. But if you have seen a used diaper, you will know, the diaper really swells up. So it's like full paisa vasool of those gels. Right? Next slide, please. So what we perceive the napkins, like they look so white, they look clean, they look hygienic. We would believe that in case of cloth, we had to actually wash it and handle it, and it seemed unhygienic. Here, there's no handling, nothing. You just it's very neat. After use, you just fold it and throw it off. So it seems the perception is that it's leak proof, it's hygienic, it's convenient. But what you don't see is to make it that way. There are so many chemicals put in together into this little pad, that it's almost scary. So when you buy a juice box or any other, chips packet or anything like that, you will see the list of chemicals put on the box or the container or the packaging of what is there inside. So whether it's glucose is there, this kind of oil is there, or what is the method used, and what are the contents are listed down to the milligram, gram, or whatever is being used, because that's mandated there. In case of pads, when you see a pack of pads, you will not see the contents at all. You will not know what is there in that. So you would just like to look at it and believe that, oh, it's like nice, beautiful flowers punched into it, and it looks like white stuff. It must be like clean, hygienic thing. And this hygiene is what is driving us so much more now. Even post COVID, it's like even more, right? We are even more finicky about hygiene and cleanliness, and we're washing our hands 100 times, and we want something that is really, really hygienic. We're putting Dettol everywhere, all around us. So, so we believe that it is really hygienic, but it's not. It's got so many pesticides and chemicals, and there is styrene, there's acetone. Can we have the next slide, please? So there is an organization called Women's Voices of the Earth. If you can read the thing in the image below, it's not something, it's not a poster that I have made myself. There's an organization called Women's Voices of the Earth. You can Google it later. It is, all they are asking is called Detox the Box. Just mention the chemicals that you're using on the pads and tampons on the box. So they have a campaign with a brand called Always. Incidentally, that brand is now called Whisper in India. So why whisper, right? I mean, that's why not talk? So this is the the case that's going on. All they're asking you to is asking the company is to just mention the chemicals on the box, and they're not willing to do it. No sanitary pad manufacturer will do it in India. Because once they do that, you will Google those and you will know that they're all known carcinogens. So there is, there is bleach to make it look really white, because actual color of cotton is something like really, like this. Like look at this cotton bag that I have and compare that to the white of the pad. It's so different, right? So they add bleach to make it look so white, and we all know, chlorine and all, what kind of effect it has on skin. So similarly, they have acetone, styrene, period blood smell. So they have artificial fragrance added into it, and so many other adhesive chemicals for the sticker behind. Then there is polypropylene, the top layer to make it dry weave, and then styrene and so many other plastic and chemicals added into it to make it more and more comfortable, to make it long lasting, all night, and all other things that ultimately in the short term many women have rashes and some kind of itchiness. Have especially you'll notice it more not on your heavy flow days, on your low flow days, on your spotting days is when you really notice the itching and the plasticky thing and everything. Because that's when it's not so much blood as is the chemical of the pad that is in contact with your skin. So the skin is the thinnest at the vagina. It's not just that the pad absorbs the blood. Our skin absorbs all the chemicals in the pad as well. It's not just one-way traffic, it's two-way traffic. The pad absorbs the blood, yes, but all the chemicals are also being absorbed by our skin there. And in the long term, it is known to be linked to many diseases and disorders, endocrine disruption. Nowadays, everyone has thyroid, everyone has PCOD. Earlier, this was not the case. I mean, it's become so common, infertility, and of course, cervical cancer ultimately. So, we all think, we all probably know a little bit of the problem, but we think we don't have, a viable solution. And this is just the health aspect of it. Next slide, please, Mia. So if you look at, after 4-5 hours, this is all the health impact that is happening in the 4-5 hours of usage. After the 4-5 hours of usage, what really happens to the pad? It is thrown in the dustbin. Which dustbin? Now we have segregation. Sukha kachra, gila kachra. Wet waste, dry waste. Where does it go? Hasi kasa, vana kasa. So this is neither, wet waste, which can be composted, nor is it dry waste, which can be recycled. This is the third kind of waste, which is sanitary waste, biodegradable waste, which has to be the ideal destination is for it to go into a city level incinerator. So it has to be handed over separately as reject waste. So most places where there's a 3-way segregation, it's called 2-bin 1-bag method of segregation. This goes into the red bin, the reject waste, which is not to be handled by the waste worker at all. The red bin it will have all these broken glass pieces and all the hazardous waste, domestic hazardous waste, which the waste picker has to just take it, put it into his or her container, and then just give it back. So no handling of it and all that stuff, because it's hazardous by nature. So most places where there is no 3-way segregation, there's only 2-way segregation. What is advised is to wrap this in a newspaper, mark a red cross or a red dot, and put it in the dry waste. And dry waste is the waste that is most profitable. If you know the waste management industry even a little bit, you will know that everyone is fighting for the dry waste, because a Harpic bottle, or a Tetra Pak, or a Amazon carton box, all these are worth 21 rupees per kg or 29 rupees per kg. So all the you will see the competition between the local housekeeping as well as the collector. They fight over this waste, right? I mean, some of them take it, the beer bottles and all that. Some of the housekeeping, you will see they take it even before they hand over the waste to them, because they will encash it for a much higher price. So this is a dry waste where we are putting this in, and they will want to Ramesh through it. They will want to go through the dry waste. It's not fair on our part to subject the waste workers to this madness, right? So to this hazard. Next slide, please. So how much waste do we actually generate? Each woman will use about 10 to 12 pads a cycle. Multiply that by 12 entire year. Multiply that by 40 for the 40 menstruating years. It comes to close to 6,000 pads in her lifetime. And there are 355 million such menstruating women in India. So you can just imagine the amount of waste we're talking about. If you're familiar with Bangalore, there's a layout called HSR layout. And I used to stay there. And as an initiative, what we did was we just collected the sanitary waste separately. And we didn't give it to BBMP. We had an arrangement with Maridi to give it separately for incineration. And it costs about 29 rupees per kg. At discounted rate, it costed us 21 rupees per kg. Thankfully, during the trial period, that amount was borne by BBMP for the pilot. But what we found, the Maridi person came in an auto to collect the waste the first day, and we had collected it separately in non-chlorinated bags. We saw a whole room full of it. And he was like, oh my God, he had just got a little auto to get it. And he said, okay, tomorrow I'll come in a truck. So a small layout like HSR layout, if you've been to HSR layout, you'll know that there are no high-rise buildings, no skyscrapers or anything. There are all these G+1, G+2 houses. And that itself generates about 500 to 700 kg of sanitary waste every single day. 500 to 600 kgs of sanitary waste every single day. So you can imagine what happens in areas like Whitefield and Belandur and all these places with all these tall, huge high-rise buildings, and so the amount of diapers used, the amount of sanitary pads used will be like crazy. So what really happens, if it does not go to the incinerator, and people can't afford to do it, not everyone is able to afford. Most of these apartment complexes are trying to save money on waste management. They don't even want to give it to a responsible vendor, right? It's just like, just take it, just do whatever with it and just take it. And the cheapest one always will win the bid. Right. So what really happens to these sanitary pads if if it does not go to the incinerator? It goes to the landfill. And what happens there is it lies there since, like I said, there's so much of plastic in this that each pad lasts for about 500 to 700 years. Each pad lasts for 500 to 700 years in the landfill. And by that rate, it's not been 500 years since the pads were invented. So every single pad and every single diaper that was ever manufactured on Earth is still on Earth. Unless it is, burnt. And sorry, next please. And if it is burnt, because of all the bleach and everything that is there in this, it releases dioxins and furans into the air, open burning. Now, many schools and it's been mandated by government nowadays that in addition to a sanitary pad vending machine, you need to have one of these micro incinerators to take care of the waste. So basically, a used pad is put into these, and it turns to ashes. So you would think it's a very simple solution for the problem, but no, it's not. If you look at the biomedical waste rules, it says that sanitary pads and all have to be incinerated at temperatures between 800 to 1200 degrees Celsius. 800 to 1200. It's like literally a furnace. And even there, if I visited these incinerators, this black soot comes into the air. I really don't know what happens, but these micro incinerators are even more dangerous because they are operating at temperatures like 200 to 400 degrees Celsius, which is like very low. At that temperature, all these dioxins and furans are directly released into the air. And they today dioxins are part of the dirty dozen, right? The leading cause of cancer. Dioxins and furans are the leading cause of cancer today. So many people, if you know anyone, if you have a family member who has undergone this horrifying, my father had cancer. And the one thing that is there on their mind is, why me? Why did I get cancer? I was a vegetarian. They start evaluating their entire life. I've not had alcohol. My father was like, I've not had alcohol. I was a vegetarian. I don't smoke. Why did I get? But the whole conversation is you might not have done anything. You might just have walked past a pile of burning garbage. That's good enough. That's good enough for these dioxins and furans to enter your system and wreak havoc, right? So, and most of these burning is happening around our kids' schools. It's insane. And how can we subject our school girls, whether it's government school, private school, whatever it is, how can you have these incinerators in schools, right? I mean, how can you? Um, it's really burns, boils my blood. Sorry, next slide, please. So if you can't incinerate it, you can't landfill it because it takes so long. What else can you do with this waste? This is one disposable which is very difficult to get rid of. Sorry, the next slide. The next slide, Amya. Yeah, I spoke about this already. The next slide. Yeah, so the other problem is, remember I told you about the polyacrylate gels which make it ultra thin, right? There is a sanitary pad ad, I forget the name. I think it's by a company called Don't Worry, where there are these girls dancing in the waterfall, and one of the girls is not there with them. She's sitting in the side, probably because she has a period. So these girls are calling her, come, join us in the water. And she is like, no, no, no. And she can't see them, being so playful and all that. So what she does is she takes out a sanitary pad from her purse, puts it in the water, and that pad absorbs all the water in that waterfall, that lake or whatever they're playing around with. And then these girls stop having fun. So it's like that's supposed to be an ad for the pads, and sadly it is true. I mean, each pad has as much capacity to absorb an entire pond. For once, whatever ads they show are actually true, because these gels are indeed like that they can infinitely go on absorbing and expanding. So what happens when a pad is flushed down the toilet is somewhere down the drain, it will bloat up, it will continue blowing up, and somewhere down the drain, it will cause a drain blockage. So around 80% drain blockages in Bangalore city are happening because of a pad being flushed down. If you live in an apartment complex or on a PG especially, you will know. The whole stigma around menstruation is people are a little worried of, or whatever, not worried, they're embarrassed of giving a used pad to a male waste worker, or they're embarrassed of for example, all of us have maids coming to our homes, and none of us get to know when the maids are menstruating, right? I mean, it's something that we don't talk about. And if they come to a house like mine, I don't have a dustbin in my bathroom. What will she do with her pad? She'll find it, either she'll throw it out of the window. So that's when you have these used pads stuck in the plumbing chutes in some of these apartment utility areas, or she will flush it down the toilet. So that's the whole lack of conversation around periods makes it even more, brings in even more problems. We don't want to talk about it, but then we can see it in front of our eyes, when workers like these are Safai Karamcharis who actually put a lot of oil on their body. They get down in the muck to actually declog the drain. And some places it's done by machines, but in India, right? I mean, it's always cheaper to get humans to do it. So that's the fate. So recently, not recently, 2 years back, 3 Safai Karamcharis lost their lives in Somsundar Palia trying to unblock a drain which was blocked by sanitary pads like this. Because there's a lot of methane inside these drains, and when they go inside, it becomes really difficult to breathe and carry on. So they just died. Sorry, next slide, please. So, now that we know that these pads are really harmful to the environment and health and everything, the new thing that has come around the block is biodegradable pads and tampons. They call it biodegradable, they call it oxo biodegradable, compostable, organic, pure cotton. I don't know what other terms are being used. At the end of the day, disposables are disposables. You need to dispose them somewhere. So if you're using compostable pads and you're composting them in your house, no problem at all. No problem at all. Go on and use these pads totally. But if you're using a compostable pad and you're putting it down with the remaining waste management stream in the city, the waste workers will not know whether this is a compostable pad or it's a regular pad. They will put it in landfill. They will not take it to the composting center. Even if they know and they take it to the composting center, we have done, I can share the links with you. It's been 3 years since we've done different experiments on different compostable pads. None of them have composted. So then, if you read the fine print, or when we contacted the manufacturer, what they said was, it will take much longer to decompose. It won't lie in the atmosphere for, it won't lie in the environment for 500 years. It'll lie only 100 years. That is of no use to us. Whether it's 500 years or 100 years, it does not make a difference to us at all. The definition of being compostable is if it composts within 45 to 60 days. That's the composting cycle of our city or any other city, I would guess, because what happens is at the city level compost center, every waste lands there and it lies there for 45 days, 50 days. After that, it's being handed over as it is to the farmer, thinking that it has composted. So imagine, finding used pads in that pile. How disgusting, right? I mean, we feel disgusted to hold our own used pad. How will you like fruits and vegetables being grown with compost and having used pads there? So compostable pads make sense only if you're composting in-house. Then you can keep it for as long as you live. You'll yourself see, actually it has all of these. I wouldn't even say most. I wouldn't even say, if you see the really, I've met some of them well-meaning people who are making these pads. What they say is all of them have plastic because it's leak-proof. It's just that it's less plastic than other pads. So what they advise is if you want to put it in your compost pile, you cut the pad, a used pad, cut the pad, remove the plastic from it, put the plastic in the other bin, and then you compost the rest. Whom are we expecting to handle our used pads, right? I mean, none of us, if you're working in an office like Saskin, I think you'll have the time while changing the pad to actually cut the pad, remove this and put it here and all those things. None of us have. So it is just, an eye wash. It is something that will make you feel nice about it. That okay, that I'm not, feel a little less guilty that, I'm not contributing to the menace. But believe me, it's worse than the regular pads. These are at least being honest and saying that I am completely plastic. They're completely being honest about it. These are like hidden things, right? I mean, they might have a slightly muddy look. It'll look a little organic and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, it's a disposable. At the end of the day, it has to go into our waste management system. And at the end of the day, we need to find place for it to lie for 100 years. We don't have that. The Safe pad, you just cut and see, you'll find few strides of banana fiber. Beyond that, everything is the same. Gel is there, the same bleach is there, and same polypropylene, styrene, everything is the same. It's just that they'll have a few strands of banana fiber in it to show that it's eco-friendly. So don't fall prey for this. There's nothing like a biodegradable pad. There's nothing like a biodegradable tampon. There's nothing like a biodegradable plastic bag. I'm not a plastic bag. I'll dissolve in water. All these are they just kind of evading the issue. They're moving the issue from here to there and there to there. They're not solving it at all. The true replacement for disposables in any sphere, I'm not just talking about sanitary pad, the true replacement for anything disposable is a reusable. True substitution for a tissue paper is not an organic or brown color tissue paper. It is handkerchief. So anything reusable is always less expensive on the environment, more sustainable, and in the long run good for health and pocket also. Sorry, next slide, please. So typically, if you look at economics, though we don't look at it that much, it's we would spend, our mates would be spending around 30 to 50 rupees per month on pads, and we'll be spending around 150 to 200 rupees. In the long run, it comes to 10 to 15,000 for them. It comes to around 50 to 60,000 for us that we are spending on pads. And we don't even think too much about it because we can afford it, and it's part of our budget now. We account for it already, so it's not even considered that an extra expense at all. It's part of the necessities that's considered. But for that segment, for the rural segment or for the underprivileged segment, it becomes an expense, and that's what is leading to period poverty all over the world. People are making such a big deal about period poverty, and saying that people are poor, they're not able to afford. People in India were using cloth and it was perfectly sustainable. It was perfectly viable for them. They didn't have to spend a rupee from their own. But now that these disposables are introduced, they are also going into period poverty. None of the people who have, you check with all your maids, drivers, whoever, any women that you've employed, nobody is using cloth. Everybody is moved to disposables now. So everybody has to spend that kind of money. If they can't, they'll make the same pad last for longer and longer, just so that and that's what is causing even more problems. There'll be bacterial growth, and there'll be all kinds of infections and diseases that we just it's like a time bomb that is waiting to explode. Sorry, next slide. Yeah, so you can stop the presentation, Ameya. I'll be showing some things on the video. So I hope you can see my video. What is the option? All of us think that we can't go back to using cloth. So what is the option if these are not good options? If these are not good for health or for the environment? So these are, I'm going to talk about two options today: the cloth pads and the menstrual cup. And these are, the new age cloth pads. They're not like the old rags that we used to use, earlier, women would use earlier. Again, there's no problem in using the cloth that they used to use earlier either. It's just that it had to be dried in the sun, so that it does not cause any problems. So these are the new age cloth pads. They have, a small panty liner. This is the regular size, and this is the heavy pad, large, extra large, and they come in different sizes, just as the regular pads do. And they all have wings. We all like wings. And are you able to see my video? I'm getting some errors.
Yeah, we can see.
Okay. Sure. So they all have wings, so that it holds the pad in place, and they all have a leak-proof layer. You can see this patterned layer. This is what makes it leak-proof and will not cause any embarrassment. The way to use it is like this. My daughter has been using this for the past 3 to 4 years. There is a snap button here. You can see. So if my hand was like the underwear, the way you would use the wings, instead of an adhesive, there is a button here. You button it up, and this is the side that absorbs the blood. And after use, you again unbutton, open the wings, and then this is the used side of the pad. You fold it like this and bring it back home. You can either carry it in your pocket or purse, or what my daughter has is pouch like this, where she carries in extra pads that she might need in the school, and she brings back all the soiled pads like this. And as soon as she comes home, she opens up all the soiled pads, takes a mug of regular room temperature water, and soaks all the used pads in it. About half an hour, 1 hour later, by the time she's changed the uniform and had something to eat and everything else, she comes back and she just squeezes out the excess blood and puts it with the remaining clothes in the washing machine. It gets washed, and my maid puts it for drying. So far, none of the other, I'm telling you, it's 3 to 4 years, none of the other clothes have got any kind of stain or stink or anything like that. It just gets washed as part of the regular washing. And we all get to know, the neighbors, the maids, everyone gets to know when she has her periods, because the whole line of different pads lying outside, right, in the clothing line. So if you feel a little yucky about putting it to the remaining clothes, you can wash it separately and put it for drying. Usually, the kind of drying thing that you have for diapers, for baby clothes, if you remember, just there are a lot of hooks around in a circle. So that would be ideal to have all the cloth pads put like that. It's easier to dry. The most important thing, like I said, in cloth pad is it has to dry in the sun. Sun is the best sanitizer we've got in India, and this is something we should use extensively. The earlier cloth got a bad name because even when the women would put the menstrual cloth for drying behind the bathroom door, under the bed, even if they put it out in the sun, they would put a towel on top of it, to cover it. So that's what led to bacterial growth in unhygienic conditions. So even if even if whatever you have to put this out for drying in the sun, and if there is no sun, or if it's very rainy, and sometimes Bangalore has these English weathers, in that case you can just put it out for drying in your room with the fan on. That's also good enough. Sometimes what we also do is run an iron over this side, not the leak proof side, the side that actually the skin, run an iron over it, a warm iron, or you can also use the hair dryer. So there are times when if all her pads are out damp and she doesn't have anything to wear, so at night we just do this blow drying and put it for drying, just like we do when we are in need of underwear, when we're not washed for a long time. So similar to that. And if you're a little skeptic or hesitant about putting this shape out, it looks like a sanitary care product. If you're a little hesitant about putting it out for drying in the sun, there are other designs available. We call this Dharwad pad because it was made in Dharwad. So these are pads which look similar to them. They also have wings and they also have a leak-proof layer. But when you take it out for washing, they're actually foldable pads like these. They open up completely. And when you put it for drying, it doesn't look like a period care product. It just looks like a regular napkin, and it's more discreet that way. And it opens up like this. So the way to wear it would be to actually fold it up. And also plus, if it is now thankfully it's summer, but when it's rainy and drizzly in Bangalore, it's easier if all the layers are open, right? It dries faster. So, and there are other designs. This is like a jacket and insert design where the jacket is leak proof, but it does not absorb anything. The inserts are what absorb, and you can add on more than one insert based on whether you're a heavy bleeder or whatever. And they are basically like, again, some kind of a napkin which open up and easy to dry. And yeah, I mean, if you look on different websites, you'll find a lot of interesting designs. You can stitch your own cloth pads. Now, if you don't know how to make it leak-proof, just use up an old torn umbrella to add the leak-proof layer, and that should be good enough. It can be your summer project. And like cloth pads are really good for young girls. It feels natural. It doesn't feel plasticky. If you see your pad, it has a very plasticky feel to it at the end of the day. Even if you don't get any rashes or anything, it just feels plasticky like that. This feels like underwear. This feels like just normal fabric, right? So that is one. The other option is a menstrual cup. It looks like this. It is made from medical grade silicone, and it's basically flexible. Like you might have seen baby feeding bottle nipples. It's some similar material to that. It looks like this. What you need to do is you flatten the lips of the cup and fold it up to make a U. You sit in the Indian squatting position. You sit in the Indian squatting position and you insert it into your vagina. Inside the vagina, you keep pushing it inside. Inside the vagina, it opens up and it forms a leak lock layer, like this. This is my vagina. This is the vaginal canal. It's inserted inside. It forms a leak lock system with it. So what happens is, because it's leak proof, whether you jump, whether you swim, you travel, you do heads down, it doesn't leak. It's just like this. There's nothing that's leaking or coming out of it. What you need to do is periodically pinch the base like this to release the airlock, take it out, empty the contents in the drain, commode, or the bathroom sink area, and wash it nicely with plain water, not with soap or anything, not with soap, not with Dettol, just plain water, and fold it again and reinsert like this. So if you think that this is too big, how will it go in, how will it insert? There's another fold which is called as the punch down fold, where you take one edge of the cup and put it inside the cup like this. You take one edge and put it inside. In that case, what happens is the mouth of the cup becomes very small and might be easier to insert. So in this case, you just take this from behind, you just push it. It opens up from inside like this. It should be completely inside. There shouldn't be anything that is coming out. Like this is not the way to insert. This is like little bit is out. It has to, you push it further in. It has to go completely in. Don't worry, there's a dead end. It will not get lost inside the body. When you want to take out, again sit in the Indian squatting position, because that's when the pelvic muscles are most relaxed. And then insert 2 fingers and pinch the base. Take it out. Empty the contents, wash it nicely, and wear again. So each cup lasts for about 10 years, 10 to 12 years. I've been using a cup for the past 7.5 years. Same cup. there's what do you call it? It's literally zero waste. There's nothing that goes out of your house. All of those 10 years. So in her entire menstruating life, a woman will use just 2 to 3 cups. Compare that to 6,000 pads. So it's literally trash free. And of course, it saves money. Though we don't think about money so much, but since 1 cup lasts for 10 years, even if it costs 1,000 rupees, compare 1,000 to 30,000, it will always be cheaper in the long run. You'll recover the cost in first 6 months itself if you spend 1,000 rupees on it. And so it's what we call as trash free, cash free, and of course rash free. This is made from medical grade silicone, so there's no chemical on it. Medical grade silicone is not plastic. It's not plastic. It is a derivative of rubber, and it is used widely in the medical field. This catheters, chemo ports, breast implants, stents. A lot of these have silicone components in them. Why? Because silicone is an inert material. It is known to not have a reaction on the body, so it's known to be inert, which is why it's used extensively in the medical field. So it's absolutely safe to being inserted inside. And how frequently to empty it is based on your bleeding. So I'm a normal bleeder, so once in the morning I empty while taking bath, and once at night I empty before sleeping, and that's 12 hours is good enough for me. But if you're a heavier bleeder, you might have to empty it more frequently during the daytime. Most women I know are able to sleep through the night without having to get up to empty the cup. Because even heavy bleeders, the bleeding is fairly less at night. So yeah, I mean, this is like one of those trash-free win-win situations, right? It's good for the environment, it's good for the health, it's good for the pocket, but most of all, it's so comfortable. It's so comfortable. You can swim, dance, travel. You can just about do anything, and you will not even know that your periods are going on. In fact, if you ask me what's the problem with the cup, one of the major problems is that you have to empty the cup every 12 hours, even if it's not full. Even if it's your spotting day and there's very little blood, even then every 12 hours you need to empty the cup. But there are times when we forget. I have during my periods I put an alarm on my phone at 9 p.m. to empty cup. Otherwise, if I've had a long day, I just go and I'll crash into the bed. I'll forget. I forget that my periods are going on. But imagine the luxury, right? I mean, when was the last time you had your periods and you forgot that you were having? Even if you're sitting and watching TV, you're constantly aware there's something between your legs. So this is the kind of comfort that comes, with the cup. And this is the primary reason why every cup user is actually standing on the rooftop and screaming about it. Deepa, would you like to add anything?
Yeah. After listening to you guys, even I have started using cups. So yeah, my daughter just came and said like, why do you have green one and auntie has pink one? You take to exchange with her. She actually saw you telling this. She didn't know what it is. She's just 4-year-old. She went, picked mine, and got it here. So yeah.
I got the green one.
Yeah. So yeah, this is actually helpful, and I would like to add first 2-3 months. I think it is tough to use. Don't give up and keep using this. Learned maybe when Kaustuba said I use a cup. Thanks, Kaustuba. That was one encouraging point when you last year, I guess you said you use a cup.
Yeah, I am also always like that. Now, wherever I go, I preach, please use cup, please use cup.
Yes.
You don't know the positives of it.
Yeah, and
Don't
I'm doing that to my sister also now. So yeah.
Yeah, so it's like is actually turns advocate. It's like many of us have been barred from birthday parties because the moment we see two people, we just take out from our purse and start explaining and all that. So, I've been told that just leave your son there and then you go. You don't have to come inside. So that's the thing, right? I mean, when we were using so many different pads, we have tried, but we never talked about it, right? This is something that everyone who's using is talking about. So it is something like Deepa said, it takes 1 or 2 periods to get used to it. Sometimes like the first time I would say that I bought it. And also there's this huge fear of inserting, especially in our Indian culture. And I myself am not immune to it. I also face the same things. Because my friends blackmailed me into emotionally blackmailed me into buying it. I bought it, but I kept it with me for 6 months without using. Every month I would look at it and I would say, no, how will I do it? I kept on
I did the same
posting.
thing.
Yeah. So I was like, no, not this month, next month, next month. So after 6 months, when I actually tried, I
Even my sister is the same way. She has kept it in her closet, and it is in that for past 6 months right now.
yeah. So you probably you just have to keep pinching and pushing, try. So it is difficult. It is scary, and I would say that it's not scary. But we've done so many scarier things, and this is just something that you will not regret. It is something that the only thing you will regret is why didn't you use it earlier? It is that comfortable. It is that comfortable. It is not just one or two people saying. It is, you must listen to a lot of people on internet. Everybody is, talking about it, and it's just that it's something that you have to experience to know. And trust me on this. Try it, and you will not regret it. It's that amazing. Any other questions you may have, you can just unmute and ask, I guess. About the cloth pads or the cup, any of them.
I'm also glad that so many people have attended this session. I keep it every year. I actually ask, may I just go and ask if one person gets benefited, it's really nice. And this time it is like 23, 24 people who are here. I'm so glad to see.
Yes.
Guys, please go and try at home whenever you have
So do you
minutes, or pass it on.
have work from home?
And I also think this is for all users. So I think this is the first time for other locations that we are doing.
Yeah.
So if most of you are doing work from home, this is the best time to try. In case anything happens and you're not able to insert or whatever, you have that mind space, you have that space. You're just that much far from your own bathroom, right? So you won't be scared to actually step into the office and make a scene or anything like that. Don't worry. So this is the best time to try.
Yeah, that is actually true. This is the best time to try. Even no, not I didn't try it now. Yeah.
Any other questions anyone has? It can be a silly question also, no issues.
Hi, Shakiba here.
Right.
Actually, I'm asking while using this cup at the time of urine, what will happen?
Yeah. So, Amaya, do you mind sharing the PPT again?
Sure. Let me know which slide.
23. One more. One more. Yeah, this one. So down there, there are three openings. The first one is actually urethra, from where the urine comes. The middle one is the vagina, from where the period blood comes, and that is where you insert the cup. And the last one is the rectum, the anus, from where stool comes. So this is inserted in the middle one, which is the vagina. And if you insert the cup into the middle hole like this, it will not interfere with the urethra, so you can keep passing urine or stool without having to take out the cup. The cup will not put any extra pressure on your bladder, and it's not that you will feel like peeing more often or anything of that sort. It will just be inside. You can go pass urine and stool without having to take out the cup. This will not make the vaginal muscles loose or, it's nothing of that sort. This is just too small. It will not rupture hymen or, people will not lose virginity and all that stuff. But it is slightly tricky for younger girls to use it. Like, for instance, I've not been able to get my daughter to use it because the vaginal muscles are really tight. So inserting becomes the problem, and she freaks out. And all of you also, the most important thing to remember when inserting is to relax. If you're really tense and if you're really freaked out, the muscles clamp up and becomes that much more difficult to insert. Don't try when periods are not there. Try during periods because the period blood itself acts as a lubricant. Do it in the bathroom area. Don't do it on a commode. You might accidentally drop the cup, right? I mean, I say it lasts for 10 years and then you just dropped and flushed it. That will be so that then try in the initial days. You just try in the bathroom area of the cup. You sit in the full squat or half squat. Half squat is the position that we sit in on public toilets without really touching the seat. So that half squat also is a good position to insert the cup. Over a period of time, you will yourself figure out which is more comfortable for you. The reason I keep saying squat is that's when the pelvic muscles are most relaxed and it's easier to use. If you feel it's very tight and you're not able to insert, just take a warm water bath. That will also relax your muscles and you will be able to insert. So best is just after bath you insert the cup. That's and you don't need to sterilize the cup or anything. I know all of us are really finicky now that people are telling a lot of things on the TV about sterilizing and this and that and all that stuff. No need to sterilize the cup. What I do is after my periods are over, I just keep it in a cloth pouch. I dry it properly and keep it in a cloth pouch. When my periods are going to start, I just dip it in geyser hot water for about 4-5 minutes and then use it when I'm inserting for the first time after a long time. So that's good enough. Even that is not really needed. It's just for my mental satisfaction I do that.
I do that, and I think that makes this rubber also little smooth and soft. That's
softer.
what in my mind.
Yeah,
That's how
softer.
Yeah, and it's easier to insert, so I think that works.
Yeah, true. But otherwise, there is no special. Don't use any V-wash or Dettol or any such chemical to clean the cup or to clean the vagina. Vagina is a self-cleaning organ. It has a good mix of bacteria and yeast to counter most infections actually. So only when we start using different kinds of soap and washes and douches, that's when the problem starts. You disturb the pH level of the vagina. It is good enough to manage on its own. If there is a problem, if you have any infection, then the doctor will tell you what to do. On your own, don't try to take different products and apply it and put it or any of that sort. So what happens is if there's any residue now, if you wash it with soap, the first soap that you get on your hands on is that 99.9% antibacterial soap. And what happens if any residue remains on this after cleaning? Then what happens is it will clean away all the good bacteria in the vagina also. So then yeast will overgrow and then you'll have a yeast infection. The white curdle discharge or whatever you get it, that's basically signs of yeast infection. So people who actually are more careful are the ones that we tend to tell during these sessions, not the people who are unhygienic or normal about things. The people who are more extra hygienic is the ones that we actually have to address. That don't use alcohol wipes on these, don't use any of the chemicals, or don't dip it in Dettol water and all those things. Just use plain water to clean it. If you're that finicky, if it makes you feel good, use hot water, no problem. But don't use any kind of soap or solution or anything like that to clean this. Any other question? Any thoughts? Anybody else who's a cup user who wants to share?
Hey, hi, one question. So, hi, this is Shanmuga Priya.
Yeah.
After seeing this informations, first I will switch to a cotton pad. Okay, I'm getting fear of using cups. I'm just saying. Okay, so I'm just asking question regarding cotton pad. Like, what is the duration to keep, as well as how to reuse? How many times we can reuse that?
So typically the pads will last about 3 to 4 years, depending on how you care for them. It's just like underwear, right? I mean, if you must have noticed, if you hand wash all these underwears and all and socks and all, they will last longer. But if you machine wash, they will the life is shorter. So same thing for pads also. Since I've been putting for machine wash, many of them have shrunk. Many of my daughter's pads have now by 3 4 years they have shrunk. So the large size has become medium, the medium has become small. So she sometimes even irons them out to just stretch it and make it proper. But also they'll start becoming a little stiff, and the absorption level will also go down. So 3 to 4 years is what I would say typical life. And how long to use it? It depends on your bleeding. Same advice is given for cloth pads as what is given for disposable pads. You should not use it for more than 4 to 6 hours. Because what happens is blood comes out and it's there out for a long time. It will start to react with the oxygen and start, becomes a breeding ground for bacteria. So 4 to 6 hours, even on low flow days, even on spotting days, you're advised to change. For the cup, the limit is slightly higher. It's 12 hours because it's inside. It's inside. So the chances of it interacting with oxygen is that much more less. But even that has to be emptied every 12 hours.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll give one small suggestion here. Like, it might be wrong, but that's how I started using cup. I started using tampons before cup. I think that will also help you understand how even cup is inserted. Because I think tampon is also to be inserted, right? So you will get an idea how to insert things. So I think that you can try tampons and then switch over to cups. I think that will also help.
Second the motion. Even I graduated from tampons to cup.
Yeah, I think that's actually a nice way to put it, because cup looks huge and it's scary, right? So tampon is easier.
I jumped straight to cups. Find your way. It's just that it's I understand it's scary, but what we say is dar ke aage comfort hai.
Any more questions, guys? Okay. I don't think there's any other questions.
So my email ID is smita.kulkarni at Smita is without an H, SMITA .kulkarni at stonesoup.in. Do feel free to write to me if you have any questions. And thank you for having me here. It's been lovely talking to all of you. And push yourself. It's something that I understand that you have 10 other things to do in the day. Once you go out of this session, life will take over. It will be like dinner pe kya karna hai, ye wo exams ka season hai, and all that work related pressures and everything. But push yourself to just get one cup and and of course, sorry, I forgot to tell you that there's one more danger that we are strongly fighting against, which is called as China cheapies. Don't go for a China cheapie when you buy a cup. Both in Amazon, Nykaa, everywhere, country of origin has been mandated. And go for an Indian brand which will give you support and which will typically be between 800 to 1200 rupees. That's the 200 300 ones are the China cheapies. Don't go for them. Most of them don't work, and it will be a lot of disservice. Then you'll say that cup doesn't work for me. After all the
Also
efforts.
have it, right, from Stone Soup?
Sorry.
You people also sell it, right, from Stone Soup?
Yeah. So Stone Soup.
We'll be sharing the link and
Yeah, we'll be
your
sharing.
email ID. Is that okay?
Yeah. I'll also send you both Amaya and you, Deepa. I'll send you emailer with all the details that I just spoke about.
Perfect.
Sure.
Probably for people who didn't attend, they can check out some of the links offline.
Yeah, sure. And if somebody wants to buy, they can just go to that link and buy.
Yeah.
That should do. Thank you so much, Smita. It was wonderful having you, and thank you for the lovely session.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here, and wish you all happy periods and belated happy International Women's Day. So choose to challenge.
Thank you, and thank you. I wish you the same.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Thanks all. Thank you all.
For attending the session. Thank you.